We're going to be changing the name of the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America, which has a beautiful ring that covers a lot of territory. The Gulf of America, what a beautiful name.
The Gulf of Mexico, a sprawling body of water bordered by Mexico, the United States, and Cuba, is not just a geographical feature, it's a vital hub for trade, energy production, and tourism, playing a significant role in the economic engines of multiple nations. But could a figure like Donald Trump, known for his bold branding strategies and nationalist rhetoric, actually change the name of this iconic Gulf to something more American? Say the Gulf of America? At first glance, it might sound like an improbable suggestion, but let's break down the legal, geopolitical, and cultural realities of such a move. The Gulf of Mexico owes its name to Spanish explorers in the early 16th century. For Spain, the Gulf was a vital maritime highway connecting Europe to its colonies in the Americas. Over time, the name became deeply embedded in maps, treaties, and international agreements. However, the modern reality tells a different story. Over half of the Gulf's coastline actually belongs to the United States, stretching across Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, and Florida. Economically, the U.S. dominates the Gulf's resources and industries, making it a key asset in energy production, fishing, and global trade. Despite this, the name Gulf of Mexico persists, not because it makes the most economic sense, but because history is hard to rewrite. When it comes to geographic naming conventions, international waters fall under the purview of global organizations like the United Nations, UN, and the International Hydrographic Organization, IHO. These entities standardize maritime names to maintain consistency across maps, treaties, and international documentation. No single country, no matter how powerful, can unilaterally rename an internationally recognized body of water. Any attempt to do so would require diplomatic negotiations with Mexico and Cuba, approval from the United Nations and IHO, and consensus among global maritime stakeholders. In short, Donald Trump could not simply declare the Gulf of Mexico as the Gulf of America by executive order. While Trump, or any U.S. president, cannot change the international name, he could influence how the Gulf is referred to domestically. In the United States Board on Geographic Names, BGN, oversees the naming of natural features within U.S. jurisdiction. What Trump could do: direct the BGN to use the term Gulf of America in U.S. government maps, official documents, and federal agencies, and encourage state governments along the Gulf Coast to adopt the term in local policies and branding. However, this change would only affect U.S. domestic references, and globally, it would still be recognized as the Gulf of Mexico. Attempting to rename the Gulf would have serious geopolitical consequences. Strained U.S.-Mexico relations. Mexico would likely view the move as an affront to its national heritage and territorial pride. Resistance from Cuba. As another key stakeholder, Cuba would also push back. International pushback. Global bodies like the UN and IHO would resist what they'd view as a unilateral power move. Any attempt to rename the Gulf on an international scale would require years of diplomatic effort and enormous political capital, resources better spent on more practical concerns. Where Trump could make an impact is in shaping public perception and branding. Known for his marketing prowess, Trump could launch a campaign to popularize the term Gulf of America in American tourism, seafood industries, and energy sectors. Imagine tourism ads proclaiming, "Visit the Gulf of America," seafood packaging labeled "Fresh from the Gulf of America," energy campaigns touting American oil from the Gulf of America. This approach wouldn't require international approval. It would simply rely on public buy-in and consistent branding strategies. Another potential pathway would involve congressional approval. Trump could push Congress to pass a resolution declaring that federal agencies must refer to the Gulf as the Gulf of America in official U.S. documents. While such a resolution would lack international authority, it would make the name official within U.S. jurisdiction, However, passing such a measure would require significant political will and could face resistance from lawmakers who see it as symbolic nationalism rather than a meaningful policy change. Renaming a historically entrenched body of water like the Gulf of Mexico would face immense resistance on multiple fronts: cultural and historical significance. Names aren't just labels. They carry identity and heritage, diplomatic fallout. The move could damage international relationships, particularly with Mexico and Cuba. Political pushback. Many would see it as an unnecessary and divisive distraction. Practical hurdles. Updating maps, treaties, and educational materials would be a logistical nightmare. However, the branding potential of the term Gulf of America remains real. While Trump may not have the power to change the official name, he could easily popularize the term in American culture and commerce. In the end, the Gulf of Mexico will likely remain the Gulf of Mexico, at least on official maps and international treaties. The name carries deep historical roots and is embedded in centuries of maritime tradition. But in the court of public opinion, names can shift. If someone like Donald Trump were to push the branding of Gulf of America, it could gain traction in tourism campaigns, product labels, and cultural narratives. While the world might still call it the Gulf of Mexico, Americans might start seeing it through a different lens, one shaped by economic power, cultural influence, and a well-placed marketing campaign.